Online Academy. In this lesson, we want to learn the factors that affect growth and development. Factors that affect growth and development. We are going to be talking about factors that affect growth and development in animals. So these things are the things that will determine whether an animal will grow well or not grow well, or whether it will develop well or not develop well. In our last lesson, in our previous lessons, we've talked about the meaning of growth and development, and we showed the difference between growth and development and different types of growth. Now, this lesson, we are going to learn the factors that will determine whether an animal will grow well or will not grow well, or whether an animal will develop well or not develop well. We are going to be learning about two major things that affect growth and development. Number one is the one we call external factor. We have internal factor and external factor. We have internal factor, or things that are inside the human or the animal that determine whether it is growing or whether it will grow or not. That the one we call internal factor. I said that the internal factor, they are the things inside the animal, or the things that come with the animal, or the things that are in the nature of the animal, and that determine whether the animal will grow well or not, or whether the animal will develop well or not. That the one we call internal. Internal means that it is inside. That the internal factors that affect growth and development, they are two that we're going to learn about. Number one is gene, and number two is hormone. So this means that under internal factor, we have two things that affect growth and development. Number one is gene, and the second one is hormone. Now, what is gene? Gene means something that you inherit from your parents, or hereditary material. That is your gene. The things that you inherit from your parents and which you also transmit to your own children. We call it hereditary material. Hereditary, that means you get it from your parents and you also transmit to your children. Like some people, if their parents are tall, they are going to be tall also, and if their parents are short, they are going to be short. Now this is because there is a gene that determines whether somebody is going to be tall or whether the person is going to be short, and which the parents have. So during the time of when the child is forming, the gene from the parents will be put inside the child, and the child will inherit it, and so the child will be tall if the parents give the child the gene for tallness or the gene that makes someone tall, and the child will be short if he or she inherits the gene that makes someone short. So that is what we call gene, a hereditary material. Hereditary means something you can transmit. Your parents can transmit it to you, and you transmit it to your children. So many things are passed through gene. Even the skin color. If your parents they have dark skin, you also expect yourself to have dark skin. And if you have dark skin, you also expect to give birth to children that have dark skin. So you won't be a dark person and you'll be expecting to have fair or white children. So this is because the gene for dark skin is in your blood or in your body, and that is why you'll be able to pass it to your children. And that is what we call gene. So it determines whether somebody is going to be tall or not, or whether somebody is going to develop very well or not. If the gene for tall is in the parents' blood, they will pass it to the children, and then the child will be tall. And if it is short gene that they get from the parents, then the children are also going to be short. So this regulates the growth and development. Even if a child wants to be tall, but the parents that have given him or her gene that will make her short, there's nothing the child will do to make him or her tall, because he or she has the gene that makes someone short. So you can now see how gene determines growth and development. Now, I said that the second thing under internal factor is hormone. Now, hormones, they are special chemicals that are produced in the body, and they affect the way the body develops or grows. There are special chemicals that are produced in the body, and they affect the way the body develops or the way the body grows. Inside our body, there is a special organ or tissue that makes special chemicals that tell the body that this person needs to grow, or that regulates the growth and development. If the person needs to grow, the chemical will be there, and when the body detects the chemical, it means that the person needs to grow. And there's another chemical, or when the chemical is not available, the body will know that this person does not need to develop or to grow. So the tissue or the organ that produces that chemical, we call it gland. So the use of gland, or the essence of gland, is that glands, they produce hormone, and hormones, they control growth and development. They tell the body how somebody will grow and how somebody will develop. So if somebody is growing and the body feels that this one is growing too much, it will produce a hormone that will tell the body to make the person to stop growing. Or if somebody is not growing but the person is supposed to be growing, then the body will produce a hormone that when the body sees it, then it will instruct the body that this person needs to grow again. So that is hormone. Now we have different hormones and different function that they play in growth and development of animals. For man, for man in particular, we have these hormones that I'm going to list now. For man, we have follicle stimulating hormone. Now, this follicle stimulating hormone, we also call it FSH. FSH. The follicle stimulating hormone is produced and it helps in maturation, or it helps in development of the eggs in man and woman. The egg, like the sperm that a man produces, and the egg of a woman, it has to make it to develop very well so that they'll be able to have children. If the egg in a man and woman, they are not well developed, the man and the woman will not be able to give birth to children. So this follicle stimulating hormone help man to, or the egg that help them to have children, to develop very well. So without, if this follicle stimulating hormone is not in the body, or it is not working very well, then they will not be able to have children. Then number two of this hormone, another example of a hormone is oxytocin. Oxytocin is another example of hormone, and this oxytocin, the work of it is that it helps to bring contraction of muscles during childbirth. When a woman wants to give birth, the body will there's a way the body will start reacting or behaving so that the baby will be able to be pushed out from the body. It is this oxytocin that makes the body to react that way so that the baby will be pushed out from the body. We call it contraction of the muscles of the uterus or the womb. The womb is where the baby stays. So when the muscles there start contracting or behaving that way, then the baby will be pushed out from the body. And it is this oxytocin that helps it to do it. If a woman does not have enough oxytocin, the woman will not be able to give birth to child, because it will not be able to push out the baby, or the body will not be able to contract so that the baby will come out. Then another example of hormone is testosterone. Another example of hormone is testosterone. Now, the work of this testosterone is that it helps man to have manly character. It says somebody to be doing like a man. If you are a man, you'll be able to do like a man, to act like a man. In case the man have a man to have manly voice, then develop hair, then you begin to do the things that they know man to have. So it is this testosterone that helps man to do that. If a man does not have enough testosterone, the man will not be able to develop very well. The man will not be able to do like a man. So, and that is not a good development. So testosterone is involved in development. Then another hormone we are going to talk about is thyroid stimulating hormone. The work of thyroid stimulating hormone is that it helps also in production of another hormone called thyroxine. The thyroid stimulating hormone helps in or instruct the body to produce tyrosine, and it is tyrosine that has or that determine whether somebody will grow very well or whether the person will not grow very well. If somebody does not have enough tyrosine, the person will not grow. And if somebody has too much of it, the person will grow too tall and become a giant. But if somebody has too small, if the level of tyrosine is too small, the person will become a dwarf. The process of if somebody has too much of it, it will lead to what we call gingitism. That is, the person become a giant. Gingitism. That is the process that makes someone to become a giant. Somebody is growing and growing without control. But if somebody does not have enough tyrosine, the person will become a dwarf, and the process is called dwarfism. So if someone asks you what hormone determines whether somebody is going to be a giant or is going to be a dwarf, then you say that it is a tyrosine. Now this tyrosine, the gland that produces it is at the neck, somebody's neck. And when there is a problem with this tyrosine, it leads to what we call goiter. If there is a problem with tyrosine, it leads to what we call goiter. Now let's also talk about another hormone. Another example of hormone is prolactin. Prolactin helps a woman to produce milk, breast milk. If a woman gives birth and does not have enough prolactin, the woman will not be able to produce enough milk or will not be able to produce milk for the child. So prolactin helps a woman to develop very well and be able to have breast milk for her children. Now, these are the internal factors that affect growth and development. I said that the internal factor we have two, we have gene and we have hormone. For internal factor, we have gene and we have hormone, and I've talked about the meaning of gene and also talked about the meaning of hormone, and I gave examples of hormones. Now let's look at the external factor. I said that we have two major factors that affect growth and development: internal factor and external factor. We have talked about internal factor. Now let's talk about external factor. Now external factors are the ones that are not inside the body, or the one that the child or the animal is born with. They are outside the body. So it is the environment that brings about the external factor that affects growth. I say that external factor, this one is contributed by the environment. These are factors that affect growth and development, and they are contributed by the environment. Now, we are going to talk about two: food and diseases. Example: food and diseases. Now, let's look at food. Of course, we know food, something that we eat to give us energy, strength, energy, and help us to do work. Now, food helps us to develop and to grow. If someone does not eat very well, of course, we know that the person will not grow very well and the person will not develop very well. And this food is something we get from the environment, so it is external factor. You go to your farm to get food, or you go to market to buy it before you eat it. So it is not inside your body. You are not born with food. You get it from the environment, you get it from the market or from your farm. So it is an external factor. But if you don't take it, you will not grow very well. So it affects growth and development. Now, diseases. If somebody is in a place that he normally falls sick, or if sickness usually attacks someone, the person will not have strength to grow. The person will not grow very well. So disease is also coming from microorganisms that are in the environment, and therefore disease is also an external factor that affects growth and development. So in this lesson we have looked at the factors that affect growth and development. We talked about the internal factor and external factor, and we have discussed the different internal factors. We talked about gene and we talked about hormone, and under external factor we talked about food and we talked about diseases. And I believe you can also discuss these things very well and make good notes on this. Now your assignment. Okay, in this assignment, you are going to tell me what is the meaning of dwarfism, the meaning of gingertism, then what are the two main factors that affect growth and development, and then you name any four hormones that we have discussed and their functions. Thank you.